Hi there, and welcome to another one of my classic reviews, where I pick one of my favourite movies, give it a rewatch, and then come review it. And in this video I'm going to be talking about The Passion of Joan of Arc. It's my all-time favourite silent movie, and I think it might also be my favourite faith-based movie, and it's just one of the finest films ever created. It's absolutely wonderful. So The Passion of Joan of Arc basically just follows the trial of Joan of Arc and her subsequent burning at the stake, an historical event that almost everyone kind of knows. So what makes this such a uniquely brilliant film is that it's so clearly modern in so many of its sensibilities. The more I watch it, the more it doesn't feel like a silent film at all. It feels really current because it's shot in a way that's really dynamic. Silent films are often quite slow and static, but this is a film with movement and that's full of close-ups, that's full of details, and it's not about wide shots and broad strokes. It's about a lot of real detailed examination of people and faith and ideas which you don't tend to find in silent cinema. In fact, I think The Passion of Joan of Arc really is exemplary for its era and just in how well it's made. Every single set, every single shot is perfect. The film just uses close-ups constantly. Renée Falconetti, who plays Joan, gives one of the cinema's all-time greatest performances, and she is superb. Joan goes through a lot in this film, and she is humiliated and she suffers, and I feel like that is what makes this film so gripping in a way, is that the emotional experience of the film is very strong. It's palpable just how much she suffers, and the images of Joan suffering linger long after the film has ended. It's also a film which really utilises faith as an idea. There's a lot of ideas about what it means to have such unwavering faith in God. In fact, Joan has to reconcile her pain and the fact that God is silent and God is not responding to her. She suffers so much in the film, and yet she ends up coming away from it as being the purest character. She sort of has to realise that the limitation of the human body are not as good as the purity of the soul. The soul matters more, or so she decides in her journey through faith. The dozens of men who try to outwit Joan end up being beaten by her, not because she manages to defeat them, on the contrary, they're the ones who end up killing her, but they're more scared of her than they are of God. Her faith is so strong that they're scared of her, and not only that, but she manages to defeat them because she has the faith that they lack. She has the belief, she has the conviction. So yeah, there's certainly an aspect here which, I mean, I'm an atheist, so I'm not exactly clued up on spirituality. I don't believe in a lot of this stuff, but that doesn't mean that I can't find a common humanity in the film, and I think that's what's really interesting. What's also interesting is that Theodor, Dreyer, who directed The Passion of Joan of Arc, really manages to find humanity in his film. So even though it's a film about grand ideas of faith, it's really, really human. The acting is all very theatrical because being a silent film, the acting is very, very subtle. It's very much over the top. They can't speak, so they have to be. The emotions are expressive. But because Theodor Dreyer so insists on making a movie full of close-ups, he really gets to the human side of stuff. His camera presses against faces and against images, and it just creates this grotesque series of pictures which just really emphasise so much. In fact, the way the film is cut is very impressive as well. The editing between all the little details that are shown often obscures where people are. It feels like Joan is just surrounded by these dozens of men who are all shouting stuff and all asking her questions and intruding upon her and surrounding her and leering at her. In fact, the film just feels very oppressive in many of those sequences. In fact, the film is beyond passionate in that sense. It really, really tries to capture the feeling of being surrounded by these people who you know are going to kill you and who really just want to make you question everything that you hold dear to yourself. There's so many other fantastic things. The imagery here is fantastic. There's like crosses, there's crowns which are just thrown away, there's hair chopped off. Like, it's told in a way that's very much not focused on the big picture. It's told in a way that focuses on the little things, but then you can deduce the greater whole. You can deduce what everyone is thinking or how everyone feels and how the film is progressing. It's all about the emotion and the feeling. And it has, of course, a lot of intellect behind it. It has an intellect of history and an intellect of theology to really bulk up what it's saying. There's also an interesting way that Dreyer uses spaces. There are a lot of static shots in Passion of Joan of Arc because it is a silent film, although incidentally there is a lot more movement than there is in most silent films. But it also has a lot of static shots. In those static shots, there'll be a lot of empty space, but the characters will constantly fill those spaces with their movement, which really just makes it so that the film is constantly showing you emptiness and then filling it up with people who are generally oppressing Joan. The lighting's also distinct. You get lighting that makes the judges look nasty and Joan look endearing. There's ways that the film just emphasises so many technique. It is a real formal showcase of brilliance. This is made in the late 1928, so this is really the very end of silent films, because in America and in Europe, sound cinema was introduced not long after this. So this is really the final throw, the very, very end of silent cinema. And this is kind of where all the techniques were perfected. I feel like the techniques of silent cinema that had been used, the use of montage and intertitles and all these other things, just reach a point in the Passion of Joan of Arc where they're unparalleled, where they are unbeatable, where they are the ultimate form of that kind of movie. And I don't think silent cinema ever topped this. I think no film prior to this ever got near to the Passion of Joan of Arc. The Passion of Joan of Arc is far more intelligent than most silent movies, and it's far more deeply made and humbling and moving, and it has a lot to say. It really is a question of faith and a question of struggle and a question of these things which you really have to question. You know, how much would your faith bear? I mean, Joan faces her fears in this movie and comes out stronger. Every single moment of her suffering is really felt, and I feel like there's a real question of how much any of us could face our own beliefs and stand firm by them as so much suffering went on. There's a lot of things in Passion of Joan of Arc that are just unbeaten, I think, in terms of the powerfulness and simplicity of the images and of their meaning. I mean, this is fantastic, fantastic cinema. So yeah, The Passion of Joan of Arc is just amazing. It's one of the finest films ever made from the first few years of cinema, and it's really, really holds up. Not only does it feel timeless, it's deeply human, it's deeply connected to how people think and about feeling. It's about faith, it's about humanity, it's about history. It's got so many interesting aspects, so much great imagery, such a strong showcase of technique. It's made in a way that's flowing and natural and beautiful, and it just works in a stunning way. It's one of the finest films ever made. It's absolutely up there among the very, very finest. I think it deserves so much praise. It's absolutely perfect and a pure work of art. So The Passion of Joan of Arc is just magnificent. If you've seen The Passion of Joan of Arc, leave me a comment. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And if you like this review, give it a like, subscribe, because I post reviews like this all the time. And if you want to keep up to date with what I'm watching, you can follow me on Letterboxd or on Twitter. Links in the description. And thank you for watching.